Sync. So I was taking my best friend Sansa here for some exercise, and I decided to bring my camera and mic along with me and drop a quick little segment of words and phrases and sentences. So I was catching up with a friend a few days ago, and he is a filmmaking friend of mine. We used to shoot every client project together. So on the conversation with my friend, he was really frustrated, more specifically with some feedback that he had gotten from a pretty horrible client. Long story short, the main character was supposed to be wearing a full suit and tie, but somehow communications got blurred and he was only in business casual, which, huge difference in my opinion. But the client pointed it out. It's their project, they're paying for it, and they wanted to pump the brakes on the project. So he sent me a link to the video, and while I'm watching it, I'm sitting there thinking, wow, friend of mine, you created an incredible, complex, super duper fascinating, interesting to watch video for this company. Why would they ever in a million years had a complaint? I didn't once think about what the character was watching. The video was that good. My friend probably was underpaid for the job, overperforming for the job, and receiving horrible feedback that ended up just tearing him apart from the inside. There's nothing more defeating than putting your heart and soul to a project and having someone who doesn't know anything about filmmaking, was in the lab cooking it up with you, come back with very menial feedback that just kind of, takes the heart out of the project. We all become filmmakers because we love creating videos, and it gets complicated when you're creating videos for people just to get by making money. Now, I've realized that I've been fortunate enough to get to a position where I haven't had to deal with that client feedback in a really long time. Now, I've found myself in a really unique position with where I'm at with my YouTube channel. When I think about how most, not all, but most filmmakers navigate the filmmaking industry, it's making money by shooting non-inspiring projects for non-inspiring people or clients who tend to have a ton of feedback and notes. And then there's working with cooler, bigger brands, which seems to be cool dream projects where you find yourself then having pretty much zero creative control. And then there's shooting your own passion projects, which you are funding 100% yourself, out of pocket, out of your own time, trying to fix it in between the corporate shoots and the other dream projects, dream client projects. And then when you finally get done this passion project, you don't have an audience to share it with. It kind of just disappears unless you get it on a film festival, or I don't know. It's hard. I know all this because that's exactly what my career was for the first 4 years of filmmaking. At a certain point, I started to feel like, maybe filmmaking isn't my future. I can't imagine this being sustainable for my happiness as I get older. And it wasn't until my YouTube channel started to gain a lot of traction that I kind of reeled it back in and was able to hold on to it a little bit more because I could see potential there. Looks like a cloud just rolled in. Looks like it's here to stay, which is okay because I was getting toasty. So about a year ago, before diving headfirst into going YouTube full time, I had a conversation with the one and only Maddie Hapoya, who I'm sure many of you YouTube filmmakers are in love with. I was kind of weighing out the pros and cons with Maddie, trying to determine whether or not I should go all in on YouTube. And he told me that a year from now that I would look back on this decision and it would be an absolute no-brainer to go with YouTube full time. And I took that advice to heart and obviously went for it. And Maddie Hapoya, you, sir, were absolutely correct. Looking back, it was a complete no-brainer. Is YouTube a ton of work? Absolutely. Is there this weird sort of stigma attached to being a YouTuber? You're this douchey influencer. Sorta. It's kind of my least favorite part. But has it all been completely worth it? And the answer to that is yes. Now, when I reflect on my own path and I'm sort of carrying on through within the filmmaking industry and compare that to way I described earlier with the traditional sort of standard way to go about it. I kind of feel like I'm on a jet ski while everyone else is just kind of treading the water around me. I'm not dealing with clients anymore. I'm sort of just coming out with my own shoots and shooting things that I enjoy shooting the way that I enjoy shooting them when I want to shoot them, and I don't have to take creative feedback from anyone unless I desire. When I do create these projects that I'm passionate about, I obviously have a bunch of beautiful people to share it with, including you. And the coolest part is that I'm able to get my passion projects fully funded by cool brands who want to work alongside creators like me. Kind of like Cuts t-shirts. I'm wearing one of their t-shirts right now, and it fits incredibly. It's one of my favorite color t-shirts I've ever worn. I've gotten a lot of compliments. People tell me that matches my eyes, but who's to say? You can get 15% off your own Cuts t-shirts if you check out the link in my description below. Seriously though, I'm pretty pumped with this sponsorship. Just lifetime supply of awesome clothes. And the other major benefit is that I just have like so much flexibility in my life and what I'm able to do, what projects I'm able to take on when I want to take them on. For example, a story just came along. It's like, in my opinion, a once in a lifetime story. The story that I feel like I've been waiting to put all my marbles into when considering shooting my first feature-length documentary, and I think this is the proper story. Obviously, the project's still in the beginning phases, and we're still trying to make it happen, but this is an incredible time in my life for it to happen. I have a giant audience who would love to watch it and support it. I have the right connections in place for distribution if we end up going that route. I have the right brands that I've worked with and collaborated with who would potentially be down to fund this project. I just have the freedom and flexibility to take on a crazy timeline of a long form documentary that I'm sure will have plenty of shoot dates. Random shoot dates too. It's not like there's a plan for them. I wish I could tell you about it. It's so sick. I'll tell you soon, I think. Hopefully. I have to make sure it's fully happening before I share this with you. But yeah, I wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't have these options available for me if I didn't, double down my YouTube channel and really go into it. Oh, whoa. There's a wild pig over there. So not to be annoying and drop a surfing metaphor on you because oh look, you moved the Maui, now you're using surfing metaphors, dude. I kind of feel like I'm the Rob Machado of the filmmaking industry. And for those of you who don't know who Rob Machado is, he's kind of one of the first pro surfers to step away from the traditional way of being a pro surfer, being on the ASP, World Championship Tour. And he decided to step away and become the first free surfer. Instead of making money on the tour, he was making money from having an audience and having sponsors to back him. Like Rob, I'm stepping away from the traditional way of making money as a filmmaker, and I'm relying on an audience, and I'm relying on sponsorships to kind of support my career. And that, I guess, makes me a free filmmaker. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the surfing analogy is a stretch with being a free filmmaker, but I thought it sounded cool in my head when I first thought of it. Ultimately, not really sure what the message is. Maybe it's if you are pushing forward on a YouTube channel and you're on the fence of whether you should keep going on it or not, I think it's a good idea, especially if you want to get to a place where you're kind of sitting in a field, talking to a camera, making money, doing it on your own time. But no, like having the audience and the sponsorship funding to go out and create your own feature film if you want to, your own feature-length documentary, having an audience to share it with without having to rely on the traditional system. Maybe it's not YouTube, maybe it's some other path that you're able to blaze for yourself, but YouTube is what has worked for me. You watching is specifically why YouTube's working for me, so thank you. So yeah, thanks for listening about how cool my situation is right now. Guess that was just like a big sick brag at the end of the day. But I'll see you next week with some BTS and some breakdown of shooting a really awesome music video for my buddy Ori Rose that I think you're going to appreciate a ton. So make sure you check that out next Monday. And feel free to grab a cut shirt. Why not look great going into the summer season? All right, that's it. I love you.